Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. Thanks for joining me. This one is going to be fun. We're playing around with a very fun, very cutesy collection. I ordered the Hello Kitty makeup products that Wet n Wild recently created a collaboration with them for the 50th anniversary. It's really cute, the packaging. Some of the pieces look really exciting to me personally. My daughters love Hello Kitty, and let me tell you, I've had these products just for a couple of days sitting here in the studio, and when they come into the office/studio here where I film, they notice the products on my vanity here, and they're like, "Mom, what is that? Can I have it? Please gimme." I said, no, I need to do a video on it first before I let you guys take over and play around with these products. But I personally am excited. There are some different formulas that I have not experienced from Wet n Wild, especially like the lip product and one of their serum products that is part of this collection, which we'll get to here in a minute. The lip product will be towards the end. They have some cute products. I did not buy the entire range. This line has a new pink setting powder, some ombre blushes, highlighters, a glowy primer serum, some lip oils, 3 different shades of lip oils, 2 different options for an eyeshadow palette, glitter liners. I think they even have a mascara, I believe, a sponge. It's a big range. Brushes, you name it, they've got it. I only ordered the things that I honestly could see myself using again if the formula turns out. So that's what we're going to do today, try these out. Aside from being cute and fun to look at and a nice like collector's type of piece, I wanted to see what the formula was like and how it compares to some of the Wet n Wild existing products. Is it the same quality? Is it less? I'm going to dive into these products, share my thoughts with you along the way, and get ready, of course. So if that sounds good, continue watching. I'm starting off with my complexion as I do with my normal routine day to day, and I've already got my skincare that's been sitting on for a few minutes. It's early in the morning, and I've also done my brows, so I feel like my skincare has had enough time to kind of soak in, absorb, work its magic. So we're going to go in with the Wet n Wild Hello Kitty 50th Anniversary Primer Serum, and it's really cute. The packaging, like I said, the character is really adorable, very cutesy. Who doesn't like Hello Kitty? And the 50th anniversary Hello Kitty design is really adorable on this packaging, and you'll see that throughout the entire collection as well. This is a primer serum that has a bit of a glow. I will show you up close shots of each of the products, swatches of course. This comes with a dropper, and when I did the swatches, as I'm dropping this onto my face, I'm going to kind of share with you my thoughts. As I was blending this into the back of my hand for the demo swatch, up close, it does feel very runny, very liquidy, and there is like a shimmer finish to it, but when you blend this in, I don't really see a lot of the sheen and shimmer. It just feels like something that adds just maybe a slight boost of moisture to the skin. It makes my skin feel soft, but that also could be my skincare that's underneath. But it blends in really nicely, and I'm gonna add a little bit more because I feel like I only did a couple drops. So I'm doing 2 more drops from the dropper, and I'm using my fingers to apply this. And this does feel nice going on, really soft and smooth. So as you get close to the mirror, if you try this product out, if you get really, really close, you will see a little bit of a sheen going on with this primer serum, but I don't see a lot of like disco ball glitter, which I like and I appreciate, because I would not like this product for future uses if it was glitter pieces or big chunks that you could see on the face. So let's go ahead and pair this with my go-to foundation. One of my go-to foundations that I absolutely love is not a drugstore foundation. Today I'm going to use my Clinique Even Better Clinical Serum Foundation. I absolutely love this stuff. I have 2 different shades, and what I did was I mixed both of them equal parts on the back of my hand, and I'm going to use that as my foundation to see if it's going to play nicely with this primer and to see if that primer is actually doing anything or if it was just basically a wasted step that I did for nothing. So we'll see how that turns out. Another product from this collection is the cute little makeup sponge. It's so adorable. I did put this underwater. It does expand a little bit. It's really soft to the touch, which I like. I've used some sponges before from Wet n Wild, and they're okay. I'm hoping that this one is better. It's really cute, and unfortunately, when you use this to apply your makeup, it's going to get all dirty. I hope I can get the stains out when I wash it after this video, but it's a cute little design. You see, it's a Hello Kitty face with a cutesy little bow. I'm thinking that I'm going to have to rely on the bottom side, which is a little bit more rounded, to blend in on the larger areas of my face, and then maybe the pointed ear part for under the eyes. I'm not sure how practical this sponge is for actually getting the makeup on and blended really nicely. So we'll have to kind of try this idea and this theory out. It is a little smaller when you first purchase it, as most beauty sponges are. And when you put it under water, you kind of squeeze it, let some water go into it, wring it out, wrap it into a paper towel or a hand towel, remove the excess, and it's going to be slightly damp, which is what it should be for the best application for foundation. And I'm going to, I guess, just start dotting this on with my finger. And then we'll go in and blend all of this together. And what I like about this sponge so far is that it's really soft and squishy, so you can kind of squish down the top and the ear part to have a better grip, and then you can use that rounded, slightly like a bit of a flatness in the center to really push this in. So I guess you could make it work. The question is, how well would it be for concealer, because that is a smaller area, and this sponge is a bit large with just an obvious different shape to it, but it's blending in my makeup just fine. I know my daughters are gonna go crazy over this sponge. I probably should have ordered 2 of them. One for each girl. I think the sponge did a great job at blending the foundation. I do have some issues with it around the nose because this is quite large and that shape doesn't allow for a nice blend. But honestly, that is something that I can easily fix. It's not a big deal. I can go in and tap it with my finger. I can bring in a brush to help right around the sides of my nose, right through here. So it's not a deal breaker. And the sponge is quite soft, so I'm going to try it with concealer. From my drawer, I pulled a concealer from L'Oreal. This is the Infallible concealer. It's a full coverage. The shade I have is 330 Ivory. I'm going to do just a couple of dots. And then for this, I'm going to aim at using the pointed ear to help me blend, just because this is quite big for the under eye. I don't want to mess up the bow too much, even though it does have makeup already on there, inevitably, but let's try the pointed side from the ear and see if I can really get this to blend and apply nicely. And I'm also going to take that ear and use that to help me blend on the side of my nose and pull down my concealer and blend it into my foundation. I mean, it's doing a good job. I don't have any complaints, except for this very innermost corner, which obviously this is too big to get in there anyway, so I rely on like the pointed side of like a beauty blender, for example, or the Real Technique sponge that has a point to it, and it makes it easier getting into those innermost corners, sides of the nose, the hard to reach areas. But as far as the quality of this sponge, it's really, really soft, and I prefer this material over the, I think it's like a fuchsia pink sponge that Wet n Wild has. I think I like this one better. I think it's softer. It looks way prettier and cute, right? But the material, I feel like it's, from memory of the old one, I feel like this is a lot softer and just better. Here's another product that I'm really excited to try. It's the loose setting powder. So the Wet n Wild brand has the Photo Focus loose powder. It comes in a really big tub and it's a translucent shade. This one for this Hello Kitty collection, not only is it cute, it's obviously smaller, which I do appreciate the smaller packaging, but it's light pink. And with the sponge, I'm going to use that ear again, but I'm also going to use the side that curves down to pick up some of that powder. And I will show you like that so that I can actually not only set, but also kind of bring this powder a little further down where I have larger pores. So I'm going to just kind of bounce this in and press right over the concealer. And we'll do one side and we'll compare and see if this actually does any sort of brightening, or if it's just going to set and look just like a regular translucent powder. Here is the side with the concealer and that loose setting powder, and this is just the concealer side. Do you see a difference between the non-set side and this one that has the loose pink setting powder? I feel like it's kind of bright, but it's not as bright looking as this side. And maybe it's just because the concealer is a little bit lighter, so there is more brightness to it, versus this side. I feel like it is a set look. And it feels really soft and somewhat silky feeling. If you kind of rub your finger across your under eyes after you use it, it does feel really soft. Is it the most brightening and the most illuminating powder that I own? No. I have a lavender shade in a high-end brand that is just, whoa, beaming bright, dark circles, lack of sleep, don't know her. They're gone. This is okay. So I'm going to use the rest of that powder to set between the brows and the forehead, right over the nose. And I'm going to use my L'Oreal bronzer. I'm going to add that, and then we'll come back to do blush and highlight. Now let's go ahead and do some blush and highlight. I picked up 2 of the Ombre blushes that are part of this collection. I have Cotton Candy and Mellow Cloud. So let's start with Cotton Candy first. Cotton Candy is a softer, light pink shade. So it kind of ombres from a very light pink, and it transitions into what I would call a more kind of peachy pink type of shade. And then obviously in the center, I will swatch how each of these look. It's where the light and the darker shade kind of meet. So it's a little bit of a gradient happening. So you can ideally customize your blush color for the day. The next one is called Mellow Cloud, and this one is a little bit deeper than Cotton Candy, a little bit more on the warmer side. So you have like a light yellowy peach here towards the top, and then obviously where the 2 shades meet in the center, it's a little bit deeper. And then the final color at the bottom is more of a kind of peachy tone. I don't really see a huge difference in the tones of both of them, if I'm being honest with you. Cotton Candy just seems a little bit brighter. So do you need both? I don't think so. I think if you want something a little bit more corally and slightly more bright, you may like Cotton Candy better. If you want something just a hint less with that brightness, then the Mellow Cloud would probably be a good option for you. What I'm doing is just placing my brush and picking up a little bit of each shade. When you put your brush and do that tapping motion, you will see a slight bit of kick up because it is a powder-based product. Not a deal breaker for me personally. You just have to tap off your brush. So I'm going to give it a tap. And I'm also going to tap onto my paper towel that I kind of work off of. And we're going to do the shade Cotton Candy on this side. And I'm just going to tap just like I normally do for my blush application. So you can see both shades. I'm going to go back in for a little bit more because I didn't pick up that much. And I'm going to try to build this up a little bit as well. There is that Cotton Candy shade. Really cute. It's blending out really nicely. Like I said before, I like that it's a satin finish, not quite as shimmer. I thought it would be kind of shimmery, but it's not, and I'm glad that it's matte. So here is that Cotton Candy shade. Let's do Mellow Cloud on this side. I'm going to use an angled blush brush from e.l.f. And again, I'm going to do the same thing I did on the other side. Just kind of coating my bristles in all of the shades. And again, you will see some kick up. More so with this brush than the Morphe brush, if I'm just kind of paying attention to that. Again, I'm going to tap off my excess. And I'm going to start tapping this shade. And I feel like I'm adding quite a bit of this Mellow Cloud. And it's not showing up that intensely. I feel like you see this shade against my skin tone a lot better. So this is Mellow Cloud. So what I'm going to do is add some Cotton Candy with that Morphe brush over the top and make both sides kind of match. And I feel like I'm able to do this pretty easily since this one was a little bit lighter in pigment and lighter in tone as well. Part of this collection includes highlighter trios. I picked up 2 shades. I think these are the only 2 available. There may be a third one, but the first one is called Cutie Pie and then Forever Star. So let's start with Cutie Pie. This one is the one that has the icy kind of ivory shades, the kind of icy cool pink tones, and of course you see the embossed Hello Kitty there, but then it's also printed on the lid. So that's really cute. And then the Forever Star, this one has a bit more of a kind of peachy vibe to it with the kind of peachy tones here, and then the Hello Kitty has a bit of a kind of sparkly gold look to it, and it's really hard to show that on camera. I tried to get it really close shots, but when you look at it, it looks like it could potentially be a glitter overspray. When you blend your finger over the colors, they're quite pigmented and very in your face if you layer this. I don't really see a ton of like glitter, which is nice. I mean, it's there, and you see mostly that kind of glittery speck happening with this tone in the center. I'm gonna do the Cutie Pie on this side because I feel like this shade kind of goes really nicely with that Cotton Candy blush. So what I'm gonna do is let's start with the light pink side here. So on one side of the pan, I'm gonna tap off the excess, and I'm gonna tap this right here. And let's just kind of see if I can show you all 3 of these shades applied. So that's that light pink. Let's do this sort of brighter, more intense pink shade. Again, that has quite a bit of pigment, so that has to be very light-handed for me because it's more of a blush topper. So it's going to have a little bit more pigment. So let me just kind of layer this right over and overlap a little bit of that blush just for demo purposes so you can see what that would look like. Then I'm going to go into the center, which is the part with the Hello Kitty face on it. Tap off the excess. This is the one that's a little bit more icy. So we're going to do this one right here. So you have that icy kind of ivory white, the light icy pink, and then that brighter, deeper pink shade. So it kind of ombres. So you can see those shades, quite intense and blinding. So that's that Cutie Pie. I try to find a big fluffy brush for this next one that has that glitter overspray just to prevent any potential glitter transferring to my cheeks. So the one that I have that has that glitter is the Forever Star shade. So again, let me do the same thing as I did on this side. Let's start with this light kind of champagne-y peach type of shade. And I'm going to do this one right here. Then I'm going to use a little bit of this side here, again, lightly, because that does have quite a bit of pigment. And that, again, light-handed for me personally, is going to be more of a blush topper. And let's overlap a little bit of that blush too. And you can see that really does show up. And now let's go into the Hello Kitty face that has that kind of glitter spray over on top. And we're going to do that right here. That gives you an idea of what it looks like. And on this one, I can see more that it's sitting more on the skin and more obvious looking than this other one. And I think it's just because of that sort of glittery kind of overspray look to it. So let's just go ahead and blend this out. It's not really terrible. And again, I went very sparingly with it just to prevent myself from looking like I have glitter on my face because I know personally that is just not the vibe that I like. Let's have some fun with an eye look today. Part of this Hello Kitty collection includes 2 eyeshadow palettes, one that's more pink and then one that leans more purple. I went for the one that leans a little bit more pink. And this is the Face and Eye palette. And again, it has that 50th anniversary on it and also the Hello Kitty look to it. I am going to show you some swatches. So this looks just pretty much like their other larger palettes as well that kind of has the same sort of component. The difference is, of course, the Hello Kitty on the top lid and that sort of iridescent pink plastic packaging. But again, it's that traditional plastic packaging that Wet n Wild has. And it looks exactly like some of these types of palettes that I was talking about. This is the Always Naked palette that I recently tried out. It's the same type of setup, same number of eyeshadows, same actual component itself. The difference between both of these is that there are certain shades in this palette that's not made for the eyes. And that is obviously that glitter type of shade, number 9. So it tells you on the back. But going back to the Hello Kitty for today's video, if you look on the back, and I will show you some up close shots, there are quite a few shades that are not designed for the eye area. Those shades are made for the face. Now that's a disappointment for me personally. That is going to be a call that you have to make on your own. I cannot tell you what to do in that regards. I feel like it's kind of a disappointment because I wanted to be able to use these shades. And I also had the thought in mind that I could let my daughters play with this when they want to do something fun, just because I have girls. They love playing with makeup, of course, like their mama. And now I don't feel so comfortable giving them this, honestly, because they don't really know what's going to happen. The interesting thing is that there is a different type of texture with some of these. These 2 shades specifically here, let me lift up a little bit more. If you look at my pan, you can see how there is a bit of a dip in it. So when you put your finger and swirl it, it has a kind of cushiony, soft feel. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Super Shock shadows from ColourPop, but those are much more bouncy than these, but it gives you an idea of the texture of those. There are some nice sort of mattes in this that I'm going to aim for today's eye look. I think I'm going to just avoid all of these really intense glitters. I'm going to start this look off with a little bit of eyeshadow primer. This is the newest one, the Lock It Down from e.l.f. This came out as a new release probably a couple months back, and I'm going to use some of this as my primer for today. It's an okay primer. I like using this primer with just powders. I don't like to pair this primer specifically with creams because it does crease on me. Instead of preventing creasing, it actually creases. To set that primer so that my blending is a little bit easier for me, I'm going to take the lightest shade, which is the second one in this palette, and it is a matte finish. I'm going to take that with a big fluffy brush and go right over the primer. With that same brush, I'm going to go to the second row and pick up this shade here, which is just like a soft, light, peachy shade. And I'm going to run that into my crease. Going back and forth. Then I want to try this top shade here. It's a little bit deeper, so this is what I applied just now into the crease. This one in the top row is a little bit more of a kind of light beigey tan, but it does have a little bit of a sparkle to it, but I think once you blend that, it's going to be more matte looking. So I'm going to take that on the same brush and I'm going to apply that right over the top of that light peachy shade. Yeah, I'm not really seeing a ton of sparkle coming off on that shade, which is a good thing. I'm going to add a little bit more warmth and I'm going to go down to the bottom row and pick up this shade here, which is kind of like a warm, kind of orangey terracotta shade. It is also matte as well. And I'm going to use an ES1 brush from Profusion. It's a large blending eyeshadow brush. And I'm going to apply this to the outer V of my eye. And I'm just going to build this up little by little. I'm going to add thin, light amounts and just kind of swirl my brush back and forth and keep this right on this outer part of my eye. I'm going to take that same shade that I just used in my outer V, which is that matte shade from the bottom row, and I'm going to use that on the lower lashes with a small detail brush. This is a Morphe E36 brush, so it's kind of like a small little pencil brush. I'm going to tap off the excess and run that on the lower lashes. And I'm only going to go in halfway with this color. So I'm going to stop pretty much by the center of the eye. I'm going to go back into that same brush that I used for the outer V with that same shade. And whatever is left on my brush, I'm going to soften and blend this out. And I'm also just going to pull it out a little bit on this outer part here, just to kind of create a lift to the eye. I'm going to use that same brush and I'm going to go into the lighter shade, that more peachy shade that I use as my transition color, and run that also underneath the lower lashes, and then also bring that out as well, just a little bit. For the lids, I'm having some issues trying to decide what shade to use. A lot of the shades that I typically would gravitate towards out of this palette are actually not designed for the eyes. So those kind of light, kind of squishy type shades are not for the eyes. This one also is not for the eyes. Oopsies. Too late. So I'm just going to go into this shade here, which is the third color in the second row. And I'm going to use my fingers to apply it. It's kind of like a really icy champagne type of shade with a hint of pink undertone to it. And I'm just going to pat that from inner corner to outer corner. And this is actually a really pretty color. I do like how this looks. And it has quite a bit of pigment and payoff with your finger. And it's soft. When you feel that shadow, it has a nice softness to it. So that's a nice one. I'm going to take a little bit more and just kind of build it up right in the very center to kind of create a more spotlight, bright moment there, just in the very center. For my brow highlight, I'm going to go back into that matte ivory shade, which is the second one in the top row, with a small little brush, and I'm going to use that as my highlight. I'm also going to take that same little brush and I'm going to go into this shade here, the first one in the top row. That one has a kind of shimmer finish to it, and it is a very icy kind of white shade. So I'm going to take a little bit of that and pop that right underneath the brow. I'm also going to take that same shade and highlight the inner corner. For me personally, I feel like I need something a little bit more rich and deep to ground this look down. And that's the thing that's sort of lacking in this palette. When you look at it, it's a lot of pink tones, not a lot of browns or even like a darker type of shade. And I get why, you know, it's whimsical, it's fun, it's light, the Hello Kitty vibes. There's nothing really dark about the character itself. So I get that. But for me to make this palette into a cohesive look where it looks complete to me personally, I need something more. And also for me, I don't want to wear a bunch of pink tones and have an eye look that makes me look sick, right? Because that's not the vibe. Nobody wants that. And I feel like with all of these sort of pinky vibes, that's what I'm going to end up looking like I'm sick. So to avoid that, I'm going to hop into the Always Naked palette also from Wet n Wild. And I think these palettes are both the same price. I'm going to take this really dark shade at the bottom with a BK Beauty 204 brush that looks like this. It's a smudger brush. I use this all the time. And I'm going to add a little bit of this to the lower lashes just to create a bit of smokiness. I'm going to blend this out here in a minute, but this color is quite pigmented and bold. I'm going to go back to the Hello Kitty palette. I'm going to pick up this light shade here with that crease brush that I used, the ES1 from Profusion, and I'm going to blend out that lower lash line. I finished the look with a little bit of black eyeliner to tight line only. I skipped eyeliner on the upper lashes altogether, and then I used the L'Oreal Telescopic Mascara for my top and bottom lashes, and this is the final eye look. Now we get to play with some of the lip products. I saw that there were 3 different lip oils. This is a new formula for me personally. I've never tried a lip oil from Wet n Wild. I think they have a range of lip oils available. I think it's maybe a Walmart exclusive, I believe. I did not see them on their website, but I did pick up 2 shades, part of this Hello Kitty line. The third option was a very silvery, kind of sparkly lip oil, and I was kind of on the fence. Is it going to look silver? Is it just going to be like a topper to use with other things? So I thought I'd skip it all together to avoid any potential disappointment, or for it to be a product that I end up not even liking and using. I don't want to have product just sitting around that's not being used. I don't want to waste my money that way. So I didn't buy the silver shade. I will link it for you down below if you're interested in trying that. I did pick up the other 2 shades though. One is a nice pink color that is called Purrfect. And this one that's called Magic Apple is a little bit of a deeper, kind of more metallic looking red. And the Purrfect is like purr for like cats, fict. So that's really cute. Purrfect. Really adorable. Packaging is equally as cute. So let's start with the lightest of the 2. The Purrfect shade. Ooh, and these have a bit of a, kind of like a sweet, fruity scent to them. Really nice. The doe foot is a big, large size, so I feel like it's going to coat the lips really nicely. So let's go ahead and apply this one. And this is the Purrfect shade. I actually think this is a really pretty shade. I like that sort of sparkle look to it. It doesn't feel gritty or sparkly. It feels very smooth, feels very luxurious, very comforting. So I do really like this formula. It's very impressive. As it's sitting on my lips, I'm feeling a little bit of a subtle kind of cooling, refreshing feel. Very pleasant, doesn't burn, doesn't feel painful to my personal preferences. I like this feeling. I feel like it's nice and cooling, just very refreshing. So that is a really nice shade. Now let's go ahead and do the Magic Apple shade. The Magic Apple also has that same sweet, fruity scent. And this one looks very pigmented compared to the first one and the swatches that I did on the back of my hand. So let's go ahead and see how this looks on the lips. Whoa. Holy pigment. Wow. And here is Magic Apple. That is a very pigmented lip oil. I was not expecting that. When I swatched it, I thought, wow, that has some pigment, but putting it on is a whole different story. It's giving holiday. That's exactly what this is. This is giving holiday on the lips. Is it not? I will say though, this type of shade being so pigmented and red, I feel like I personally need to do a lip liner first, because I can get very messy with this because there is so much pigment that it's very easy to drift out of the lip line, especially because the applicator is so large. I feel like I need to clean this up a little bit with some lip liner here and kind of perfect this. And if you put on quite a bit, it does start to settle the pigment inside the lines of the lips, at least for me. I'm really seeing that happening on my bottom lip, and I don't think it's something that the camera, even if I get close, you'll see. And maybe it's because it's so pigmented, and maybe I put too much on. So I think going forward, I will pair this with a lip liner and then use just a light amount, because I personally don't wear these types of shades. I don't ever really wear a red lip. I am back, and what I ended up doing was taking off a lot of that excess of the Magic Apple lip oil. I just took a piece of my paper towel, kind of put it between my lips, pressed my lips down, and when I removed the majority of the product, I'm left with a bit of a hydrated feel to the lips. I can feel it still on my lips, but the finish looks like a really pretty, soft, very, very soft metallic sheen to the lips, which I think looks really pretty, very flattering. Again, it makes the lips look fuller because of that sort of sheen that it has. And I was able to remove a lot of that really intense red, and I'm left behind with a bit more of a deeper kind of rosy vibe. I took out a lip liner from my collection, the L'Oreal Color Riche lip liner in Worth It Medium, which looks like this. wonderful formula, by the way, from L'Oreal. And I perfected the shape of my lip, kind of went on the outer edge a little bit to give me a fuller look and to give me that sculpted, defined shape to my lips that I like. And that's it. And I feel like I can definitely make this really intense red, as you saw previously, very wearable like this by just kind of patting off some excess, taking off some of the residual that I had on, not using as much. It created a really pretty sort of berry look to the lips that I actually can use again. And I look forward to it now that I've done that, because before it was a little bit intense for my personal liking, but I think like this, it's really, really pretty. What do you think? I think it looks so much better. I do want a little bit more of a gloss, so let's go back into that pinky shade. This is the Purrfect shade, and I'm gonna add some right over the top. So now that everything is applied and I've had some opportunity to play with the formulas, I do think that I enjoy some of the pieces of this collection. I don't think that everything was a hit for me. The primer, let's start in order that we applied the primer. I feel like I have to kind of report back on that and see how this wears with my foundation. The sponge is cute, and actually it did work. I didn't think it was going to be that practical, but she actually worked very well for me, and I will continue to use this again. Although it does look dirty and not as cutesy anymore, but it is what it is. That's what's going to happen. The powder, I don't feel like it's quite as brightening as I had hoped. Is it different for the brand? Yes, because they didn't have a light pink in their collection of loose setting powders. But is it something that is completely wowing me? Not really. It did set the under eyes and my larger kind of pore zone area here. So it did its job at setting my concealer, but it just didn't brighten as much as I thought. And so I definitely have to play around with this more. I think in the future I will use this with a powder puff and do that baking technique and see what happens. Maybe there I'll see some more brightness under the eyes. So we'll try that in a different video. The ombre blushes and the trio highlighters, they're really cute. I like the packaging, as I said before, and I've said that several times in this video. Out of the two ombre blushes, I like the Cotton Candy, which is that kind of more bright, kind of corally shade that I have on this side, which is my right side. And the highlighters, out of the two, I think the Cutie Pie, which is that icy pink, again, on this right side, is better. I have some disappointments with the eyeshadow palette, to be honest. I think that the colors are really cute. The packaging is really cute and whimsical. Again, part of the theme. I just felt like I needed to bring in a little bit of depth for my lower lashes as I brought in that dark shade from the Always Naked palette to make this a little bit more cohesive. I think the disappointment for me lies in the fact that some of these shades, there's a warning that's not made for the eyes. And I bought this with the intent of using these colors for a tutorial for eye looks and just to try out different tones within the Wet n Wild formula of eyeshadows. And I'm disappointed that there is a warning. Now that could be something that I decide to try on my own and see what happens. And if I ever do that, I will let you know. But I just feel like it's something to know. I don't know if that was posted on the website, that some of these are not for the eyes. I do appreciate the tones and the varying textures from shimmers, metallics to mattes, to these that have that kind of squishy, almost cream-like feel. It's different for the brand. As far as the palettes that I own, I don't have anything in those that has the same texture. So I feel like they've tried to do something different and out of the box with those. I feel like overall, the tones are cute, but as I mentioned as I was doing the tutorial, if you put a lot of pink around your eyes, you run that risk of it looking a little sickly. I'm gonna just say it. It's not always the most flattering look to have a lot of pink. If you want pink eyeshadow like these tones, you have to ground it, I think, with something a little bit deeper, some kind of brown shades, some neutral shades to kind of give the eye some more shape, sculpting, and just make it a little bit more cohesive. I do like the pigmentation. The quality seems to blend out nicely, as I've experienced with the Always Naked or some of the Color Icon Tan Pan palettes that I've tried from Wet n Wild. I do think the formula is quite similar. And then finally, the lip oils, I do think that the formula is really great. Very pigmented, more so than I expected. Very comfortable on the lips. I like this feeling and I want more shades. I want them to sell their lip oils on their website because they're not on there. I think it's an in-store for Walmart only, unless Target has them and I just kind of overlooked it. So if you know that, let me know where I can purchase those lip oils besides just Walmart. But I like the packaging and I like the formulas. So if you're interested in anything, they're going to be listed and linked for you in the description box. I hope this video was helpful to play around with some of these products and see them in action to see, is it just cutesy packaging or is there something really great about these formulas? And I hope that this video was helpful if you were curious about the products. If you were going to purchase them, hopefully I've made that decision-making process easier for you. Thanks for being here, for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this in the future. And you can also follow me on Instagram. It pops up here on the screen. Take care, you guys, and I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.